Guys, please take a seat. We're going to get started.
I want to talk about something other than marijuana, which when you leave here, I want you to remember this, no matter what else you hear, okay? The most important thing. If you've been injured in an automobile, learn on the job. Or get some bad medical marijuana that want to call me. No, listen. I was supposed to debate Grady Judd.
What?
He said yes, and he said no. I was supposed to debate another sheriff. He said yes, and then he said no. And there was a senator from Fort Myers. He said yes, and he said no. Randy Fine, who I love from Brevard County, he's from Kentucky like me. He said yes, and he said no. They couldn't find anybody to debate me. Then tonight, I'm standing there downstairs having a drink, and the prettiest man I've ever met in my life walked up to me. And it was Luke. I said, man, you're pretty. What are you doing? He said, I'm here to debate you. They have found the prettiest man in America. Where are you from?
Colorado.
Colorado. Floated his ass all the way in here. So I'm at a disadvantage because he looks good. You know he knows his stuff. He works for the industry, so I'm going to do my best. But I want to tell you all something. Who I really challenged tonight, who I really want to debate so we can get this figured out once and for all, is Governor Ron DeSantis. He's got a lot of things he says about this. So what I did for the next debate, I said, you know, if Mohammed won't come to the mountain, so I have brought the mountain to Mohammed. And
He's taller than you.
he's taller than me, but we put platform shoes on him so he can look a little bit taller. So what we want to say tonight, Governor DeSantis, don't be scared. Don't send Luke. You look like you could be related to this kind of hair. But anyway, I'm happy to be here. I know I got to battle that guy's hair. I asked him what product to use. Tell him the product you use.
Ruzel.
Ruzel News. So anyway.
Thank you. Good stuff. So technically you did know, or at least one of your staff knew, they agreed to me coming a few days ago, but I hear you on that. Hey everyone, I'm going to start out with a very well-intentioned and really authentic apology to you all, because my Denver Broncos came to beat Tampa Bay at home. I'm very sorry for that. I know. We just had to get that out of the way. But no, it's an honor to be here. I'm very grateful to have a chance for this discussion with John, and thankful to the Tampa Bay Young Republicans for letting me join. A little bit about myself. I am from Colorado. The reason why I work on this issue of marijuana with my organization, SAM, Smarter Approaches to Marijuana, which you can learn about SAM.org. We're the nation's leading organization coming at this from a public health perspective against the legalization of marijuana. Why do I do this? I do this because it started about 8 years ago for me. My wife and I were living in Northeast Denver. Then we had just one little girl. We now have 2 little girls. She's 10 months old. We're pushing her in her stroller in a lovely little area, suburban area of Denver, and she's sleeping. Someone lights up a joint, and as we're pushing that, we're going through the cloud, she's breathing in that secondhand marijuana smoke. And we both realized at that time that there are people that are victims of this policy, unintended consequences that people don't know enough about. You've got TrueLeave, who has put nearly $100 million into this initiative with a whole bunch of lies. You are not hearing from the parents who are hurt by this policy. Johnny Stack, my neighbor Laura Stack, her son became addicted to high-potency marijuana. He developed schizophrenia and psychosis. He ended up killing himself in one of those psychotic episodes. Then we have Randy Backus Jr. He's the son of a family, and they had no idea what marijuana could do. He became addicted on legal marijuana. He became addicted. He thought it was helping him medically. He became psychotic. he killed himself. And finally, Jennifer Robichak, daughter of Kareem Daxberg, her daughter was 16 years old, Jennifer was 16 years old. Guy was high on medical marijuana legally, driving 82 miles an hour down the street and killed her. Okay? These are the stories that don't get $100 million advertising campaigns, folks. But it's the truth, and we're going to talk about the facts tonight. So that's what I want to have a discussion about. Our organization is nonpartisan. We don't believe anybody should go to jail for having a joint in their pocket. We believe fully in criminal justice reform, expunge criminal records. We should not be mass incarcerating. We're not about that. On the medical side, we think there should be more research, more approved medications that come from marijuana. All for that from a science perspective. But legalization of marijuana leads to one thing: Big Tobacco 2.0. We're going to hear more about that tonight. Thank you.
We do only have one mic tonight, so we gotta share and be simple.
Look, I'm the guy that legalized medical marijuana in Florida. And so thank you. Today, 1 million Floridians have medical marijuana cards. Ask yourself this question. Since that happened, this smoke that his kids' clouds were running into, how many times have you smelled medical marijuana since it was allowed? I've never smelled it. I've never smelled it. Do I?
Every day.
Where? Wait a minute. I don't ever smell. I know this. Cigarettes.
I don't have a mansion.
Do I?
I don't have a mansion.
Not living in a mansion flying around on a private jet.
Every day, you don't smell your neighbors.
Do I?
Go ahead.
You got 1 minute.
Well, first of all, I got 1 minute, but they had 60 seconds, but I guess I'm debating the audience, but look, cigarette smoke is not allowed. I got a brother who smokes cigarettes. He's got to go out in the parking lot in Orlando to smoke a cigarette. You can't smell cigarette smoke. You can't smell cigarette smoke walking around. When you walk downtown Tampa, do you smell cigarette smoke? I don't. Well, then you got a nose of a German Shepherd. But listen, it's a ruse. It's the only argument they have that there's a bad smell. Now let me tell you what I think about the smell. When I smell it, I want to go into that room because that's the party I want to be in. And I don't mind that smell. I don't mind that smell if I want to be there for that smell. But it's a ruse, and by the way, it's the only argument I've heard Governor DeSantis talk about is the skunk smell. It is a ruse, a red herring, and it doesn't happen. And by the way, young people mostly don't smoke. They use gummies.
Yes.
2 minutes to explain why you're answering my minute.
Well, what John said is a good point, because with Amendment 3, there's no ban on the public smoking of marijuana, so we will have people legally smoking marijuana. There will be more smell, more smoke. I just came from New York City. I saw people with construction hats on going to take their smoke break, but they're not smoking cigarettes now. They're smoking marijuana because it's legal there. And then they got up on the scaffolding. It happened 3 times. I can show you the exact place where it happened. And it's happening in Colorado, where I live. It's a huge problem. But it's not just the smell. It's the secondhand smoke breathing in. That's a big problem. But let's talk about something bigger than that. This is Big Tobacco 2.0 I talked about. How many of you think it's a good idea that Philip Morris has put more than $2 billion into the marijuana industry? Show of hands. Who think that's a great development? Yeah, not at all. They have put billions of dollars. R.J. Reynolds, which, by the way, John, your firm did a great job representing somebody against R.J. Reynolds, and I appreciate you for that.
Amen.
But I want to hear your thoughts about the fact that R.J. Reynolds is now leading the fight for the legalization of marijuana. They want to bring big tobacco back again. They see our brains as profit centers. So the final thing I want to say, why does it matter to big tobacco? It's the money, it's the monopoly. Big Tobacco lied to the American people about the addictive nature of cigarettes. They were putting nicotine in it, and they didn't tell us.
Yeah.
They have changed marijuana. We legalized marijuana thinking of joints that were 2% potency 2 decades ago. Now it's up to 99% potent dabs, shatters, waxes, brand new class of drugs. It is more addictive than marijuana has ever been. 1 in 3 people who try these new high-potent marijuana products will be addicted. The industry's lying about that. Nobody knows. Second thing, it is much more harmful to your mental health than it's ever been. I talked about those two young men whose lives were ended early because they developed schizophrenia and psychosis from these high-potency products. We were lied to once in this country by big tobacco. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We should vote no, and we should not allow big tobacco industry into Florida.
Amen.
John, we're going to let you respond to that if you want to talk about any of the points he just made.
Well, look, these anecdotal stories, who knows? I mean, they put $2 billion in, when, where? I've never read it, I've never seen it, but I don't care about it. But look, the booze industry, who doesn't want this? The booze industry. Why? Why? It's a mortal threat. It's an existential threat. Who doesn't want this? The pharmaceutical industry. Because my brother, before medical marijuana, Xanax, Percocet, opioids. The opioid litigation in Cleveland, I'm on that. The number one killer of people under 50 in America, opioids. It's a falsehood. It is just a falsehood. Now, once it's legal, then it goes to the legislature, just like medical marijuana did. And then they say where and when you can smoke it. By the way, when I passed medical marijuana, Rick Scott sued me to say no smoke. Or I sued him. He said no smoke, I sued him. When Ron became governor, we had a press conference and Ron DeSantis dropped the lawsuit and allowed smoke. So he didn't have a problem with smoke then and the smell then, and with good reason, because you don't smell it. You can say you smell it, but you don't smell it. You go to a concert, yeah, you might smell it. Guess what? That's the concert I want to be at. But it is not as prevalent as they're trying to say. It's just not. And to see people say they can smell cigarette smoke, when, where, how, why, go to the airport and try to find it. You just cannot.
John, it's a great point you bring up about alcohol. So the largest alcohol conglomerate in America, Constellation Brands, they put more than $10 billion into the marijuana industry. They want to bring THC-infused beverages to shelves across this country. So we have big alcohol. We have big tobacco. By the way, he was talking about the biggest killer. The World Health Organization says by far our biggest killers in society are our legal drugs, tobacco and alcohol. Do we think alcohol is more deadly than fentanyl, folks? No, it's not more deadly than fentanyl. Why is alcohol killing more people than fentanyl in this country? Because it's commercial, it's accessible, it's prevalent. We have normalized addiction to this substance. It's not going well. I don't want to copy that playbook with a whole new class of addictive substances that are mind-altering. Because in this country, and something, John, you say that I just love, you say you're for the people. And we need to be for the people. And the way to be for the people is to prevent these industries from lying to them, from taking advantage of them, and addicting them, okay? We talk a lot about freedom here at the Tampa Bay Young Republicans. It is not freedom to be addicted. Addicted is the opposite of freedom. And this is an industry that makes the most money when we are addicted and when they're selling their products. That is not liberty, folks. It is addiction and it is bondage. And we can't allow that to go into our innovative capitalist free market system. Because people make a lot of money at the expense of the people.
Okay, so Luke, you're from Colorado, so you're from a state where it has been legalized. So can you, we'll have both of you guys talk about it, but we'll have you start. Can you talk about what you've seen and the changes that have happened in Colorado since it's been legalized?
It's a great question, thank you. So yeah, my experience in Colorado as a parent, as I said, is what drove me to work on this issue for the past 8 years. And I started out in public health, and something I noticed was that working in health, I worked in community healthcare clinics for uninsured patients. We had a lot of people coming in our doors that had opioid addictions. And I saw what addiction did to families all across our state. And then we started to notice, and I started to hear from doctors, that more and more of these people who were using opioids had actually started with marijuana. And we started hearing more about that. Then I started doing the research. Then I started doing, and I know folks don't want to hear this, but I'm going to talk about the science and the facts. The science are the Journal of the American Medical Association says that you are 4 times more likely to be using opioids if you have used marijuana in your life. That doesn't mean you're going to use marijuana. That means you're going to automatically use opioids. But what it says is, if you're somebody who's using opioids, odds are pretty good you started with marijuana. And that's just a fact. Because you're priming especially young minds. So what we started to see was a lot more opioid problems. So in Colorado, our opioid overdose deaths have gone up every single year since we legalized marijuana. Nobody replaced their opioid use with marijuana. That's the first thing we learned. Second thing we learned was that more people were dying on the roads from impaired drivers. Marijuana is involved in 1 of every 4 road deaths in the state of Colorado. We have a lot more impairment on our roads. They become much more dangerous. And what we've learned is that people don't think it hurts you driving. They did a survey of people, and they said, do you think drunk driving is dangerous? And they 100% said, yeah. Then they said, well, do you think being impaired by marijuana and driving is dangerous? Only 64% said yeah. And so what we have is a lot of irresponsible messages coming from our industry that are saying, this is no big deal, it's harmless. Third thing and final thing I'll say is we have a lot more issues of mental illness and addiction in our state from marijuana. So the number 1 reason for youth treatment admissions in Colorado, number 1 reason, marijuana. Not fentanyl, not alcohol, not tobacco. It's marijuana is the number, ask our treatment providers. It is the number 1 reason for treatment admissions for youth in Colorado.
Well, remember this. Just because you say something doesn't mean it's true.
Thank you.
Listen, just because you say something, 1 out of 4 deaths in Colorado from marijuana driving, just Google that.
Yes,
That's not
Colorado
right.
Department of
That is
Transportation,
not right.
CDOT, Google it right now.
Yep, it's there.
Listen, just because you say it, it's not true.
You should know.
First of all, I'm in the business of automobile accidents. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Believe me, if they're high, they're going to deal with me. Believe me. So that's just wrong. But here's the thing. They all want to say it's a gateway drug, it's a gateway drug. Hell no. You know what the gateway drugs are? MD 2020, Boone's Farm, beer, Wild Turkey. Listen, it is a ruse. What you got, Adderall, Percocet, all of the horribles. What this is about, if you want to boil it all the way down, what is this about? It's about money. You want to talk about who has money in this? The pharmaceutical industry? This is a big threat to their business. The people who make Percocet and Oxy and Xanax. This is a mortal threat to the alcohol industry's business. Think of the day that it's covered by insurance. Think of what that fear does to the pharmaceutical industry. Let me tell you something. My brother Tim used marijuana every single day. Before that, thank you very much. He just passed away 6 weeks ago. But he was not able to function before with the Xanax and the Percocet. Marijuana was miraculous. And guess who knows it? First of all, he knows it because there's a pill called Marinol that the pharmaceutical industry made. But guess what? It doesn't work. They know that marijuana is a miracle.
Don't have to stop yet.
Look up Marinol. Marinol is the pharmaceuticals answer, but it doesn't work. It only works this way.
That's because marijuana comes from God.
Thank you. You want to respond?
He's worried about one thing. It is all about the money. You have Trulieve that has put in nearly $100 million into this initiative. They're not doing that because they think it'd be a great idea for marijuana to be available everywhere. They're a for-profit corporation. They're doing that because they want to make money. And when you're a for-profit corporation and it's your job to sell an iPhone or groceries or something like that, and you have to sell a lot of that, that's a great way to make some money and it's doing good for society. It is not doing good for society when your profit incentive is to sell something that is addictive. When you make more money every time somebody comes in the door to purchase those products. And the fact is, alcohol industry sees this as a great way to make money, but my biggest concern is big tobacco. And it's the way that they have bought off politicians, they have written things exactly to insulate their industry, and that is exactly what happened with Amendment 3. Yep. Look at Amendment 3. It is written so Trulieve and maybe a handful of other businesses can carve up the entire state of Florida and make a profit at the expense of our kids to sell their products and hurt the community. Now let's talk about this. Okay? So it's a monopoly. It's being funded with hundreds of millions of dollars. There are lots of industries at play. But one thing we haven't talked about today is what happens when there's lots of marijuana use, lots of dispensaries. Yes, there's secondhand marijuana smoke. Yes, it impacts our kids, but it also impacts our quality of life. Crime around marijuana dispensaries goes up more than 1,000% in the community where a dispensary is. Don't believe me? University of Colorado 2019. They did the research. Property crime goes up around pot shops. Violent crime has gone up almost triple-digit percentage points in every state that has legalized recreational marijuana, folks. I don't know, maybe you legalize the drug dealers and you just get more of those bad types around your communities. I don't, and by the way, most people don't want these shops in their communities. When you give them the chance to opt out, which by the way, this doesn't allow you, communities overwhelmingly opt out. 60% of Colorado opted out. You're not allowed to opt out with Amendment 3.
You're not.
I want to ask about one of the points you brought up, because I think it's one of the biggest talking points in here. Right now, there's a lot of talk about there being a monopoly that crafted this whole thing, and it's taking over the whole state. Currently, there's 22 licenses, I believe, in the state of Florida, 25 that are pending that they could release, and the legislature has all the ability to control the framework for how we do this. So I wanted to hear from John first, but then you as well to speak to that point.
We already have a free market in Florida. It's called the hemp market.
Well, first of all, I'm
It's not
glad.
regulated. It's the most regulated market in Florida, sir.
That's right.
I'm glad I'm here with Republicans because I know you all are capitalists like me. I'm a capitalist with a capital C. I didn't say capitalist.
I don't vote for the game.
Crony capitalist.
Guys, let them talk.
You want vote for the game.
Sure. Come on, big boy.
I mean, it would be better.
Don't make a fool of yourself.
He wouldn't. He would not make a fool of himself. Let's get it on camera, guys.
The last 8 years, we've had the most restricted cannabis industry in the country. 22 licenses for 8 years. We have the highest prices, the lowest quality. We have more product shortages than any other state. This is not a monopoly amendment. Let's get that straight. This is a monopolistic privilege amendment. If this amendment passes, you will not be able to grow your own. You will not be able to participate in this industry.
Amen.
Free markets have lifted more people out of poverty than anything else in this country.
Amen.
We are for legalization. We are against Amendment 3. We do not want this corporate booth cartel.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
We're gonna let John.
John, you did ask.
Guys,
John,
we are going to get to your questions. We are going to let them
You did ask. You did ask, sir.
Guess what? I'm going to agree with Paul Bunyan there for I agree with you. Listen.
Then support the hemp market. Don't lobby against it.
Guys, please don't interrupt. Please don't interrupt.
I support the hemp market. I own a hemp farm in Oregon.
Hey,
So
That's
listen.
not in Florida.
Well, give me time. But listen, I agree with you about monopolies. There are 25 licenses sitting up there right now that DeSantis could release tomorrow.
But it shouldn't be license based.
Listen, honey, I can't.
Shouldn't be license based.
if you want
I mean, I could.
No, stop giving the mic.
I mean,
Stop, please stop giving the mic to people.
I feel like
I wish I would.
So I agree with you. There are 25 licenses that could be released tomorrow. The other day, DeSantis was talking about the monopolies and how bad it is, and people should be able to grow it at home. I agree with you. Truly agrees with you. And yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Listen to me.
They love to turn me into a phone.
Listen to me. Listen to me. They do. And guess what? Even if they fucking don't, DeSantis can allow it in the next legislative session. Governor DeSantis, with his legislators who are under his thumb, they can legalize homegrown dissection.
It's already legal.
It's already legal.
It's already
Then let it happen.
It's already legal.
I'm talking about in the state, what you all don't understand, what you're mad about, nothing's ever going to happen outside a constitutional amendment because the people in charge are not going to pass it. That's why I had to do it in a constitutional amendment. Why do you think the minimum wage here is $15 an hour now? You know why? Because I spent $20 million of my own money to do it. You think that's ever going to happen in Tallahassee? Hell
John,
no.
you gotta stop yet. Thank you, John.
I'm with you.
Luke, do you want to respond?
Well then, John, let's talk.
Yeah, well, I just wanted, I was all lost there. John, you shouldn't have to debate against the whole room, so I do apologize for that. And, you all can bring in another person from the members of the debate.
We want you to.
I'm happy to be here, though. I got a lot of respect for you. So, what I want to address, though, is this issue with the free market. So, we're in a bunch of Republicans here, so, ideally, historically, Republicans have been conservative. I don't really know if that still holds water today, but the idea is we're supposed to be conservative. And yeah, Republicans believe in free markets. That's why we cannot be for the legalization of marijuana, because what happens with that, and again, don't misconstrue that between criminal justice reform and decriminalization, which is totally different. But legalization creates a commercial industry, puts marijuana in the free market system. What we've seen with addictive drugs in the free market system is innovations that are both amazing and terrifying. Okay? The vaping device is a great example of the way they reintroduced nicotine smoking to our youth. Okay? Now, there are perhaps appropriate uses for vapes to help people get off cigarettes. That's a separate issue. They brought nicotine back in vogue in schools. And it was because of the innovation of the free market system, because design guys from Apple, design guys from Stanford knew how to make things look appealing and knew how to make customers want a product. That is scary when it is an addictive drug that hurts people. So what we've seen when we allowed an industry reform around marijuana is we went from, in 2014, we had 6 million Americans who were using marijuana every day. Now, as states have legalized it, about 24 states, we now have around 20 million Americans who use marijuana every single day. So this industry has been successful in advertising, marketing, and expanding use. So this is not about something where somebody just casually uses marijuana once a month. That's not what the free market is interested in. The free market wants to create a customer base that is heavily and repeatedly using. There is more harm from that. Okay, you talk about using marijuana once a month, much less of an issue to be discussing somebody using marijuana every single day. It's very harmful in that regard, according to all of the scientific literature that's out there. A few minutes. I just have one more minute. Maybe you just went for 5 minutes. So one more thing I want to say. So getting to conservatism, okay? So you look at conservatism. We're talking about freedom. And there are people that are using freedom in terms of the freedom to just use whatever drugs you want. That is not the freedom that our founding forefathers had in mind when they wrote and talked about the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was within that. They didn't have anarchy in mind. You look at all the foundational thinkers of liberty, libertarians in the room, okay? John Locke, John Stuart Mill, Edmund Burke, the father of conservatism. These men dreamed of liberty, but they dreamed of liberty within the bounds of virtue. Virtue for a society that would be safe, for families to prosper, for an economy that would be completely unprecedented in the world. They achieved that. We stand at the precipice as a country of reversing the dream our founding forefathers had. For children to grow up in a country where they could be educated, they could be taught hard work, how to be successful, and make their dreams come true, and bring good in the world. If we apply the skill sets of our Americans to addict our fellow man, we are turning against each other at a time when we need to be more unified than ever. Thank you.
Well, I guess Donald Trump disagrees with you. He's supporting Amendment 3. He doesn't see the same problems that you see, And guess what else
Support
does?
everything Donald Trump says.
Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you, motherfucker? Sit down. Sit down. I mean, we're trying to have a debate.
Guys, yeah, please try not to interrupt. We were going to give you your questions.
In the courtroom, without the F word.
Okay,
In the courtroom, you're not allowed to stand up in the peanut gallery and start screaming shit. Well, I'm sorry, I used that for a motherfucker, so I'm sorry. I just used it.
So we don't have any security at this event.
if you guys are gonna keep interrupting, we're
Yeah, I
going
mean,
to have to ask you
I'd
to
like
leave.
to do it,
Please.
but I can't be screaming.
Then stop saying the F word.
Okay.
Cody.
Look, they're talking about, he keeps talking about kids. Our kids. The number one risk in not passing this amendment, the other person that's going to be happy, other than the pharmaceutical industry and the booze industry, is going to be the Mexican cartel. You know why? Because they don't want this to happen. Pablo Escobar's people do not want this to happen. He's in prison now. They don't want this to happen. You know why? Because it will take money away from them. And what happens, and you know this to be true, I think, that those marijuana joints are filled with fentanyl. If you're really worried about death, and I deal in death because I sued the tobacco industry. You've researched me. I've had some of the biggest verdicts in America against tobacco. I brought opioids to their knees. I know about this. Fentanyl is what kills our kids. And you know where marijuana is today? In every single high school and junior high in this area. Don't think that it's going away. No, it's coming from Pablo Escobar. I'd rather it be coming from a commercial, regulated store.
Quick question.
Yeah, I'm gonna make one announcement and then you can end. Okay, guys, if you are going to interrupt, we are going to have to ask you to leave because it's getting out of hand. We are going to let them two talk and then we will take questions from members, and then if we have time, we'll take questions from non-members. But if you guys keep interrupting, we're not going to have time to get to your questions, okay? It's very, very important that you guys listen. That's what this is for. And then we will get to you guys in just a few minutes.
John, so as you mentioned, you took on tobacco. So I had a question for you. We have thousands of parents who lost loved ones to the marijuana industry. Will you represent them in suing the marijuana industry for wrongful harm to their kids?
Amen.
And I'll yield you 30 seconds.
Let me tell you what the tobacco industry did. The tobacco industry laced their cigarettes with powerful, addictive nicotine. Then what they did is they had a thing called filters. And they said that's going to block the tar nicotine. You ever smoked a cigarette? You ever see the brown stuff there? You think it's being blocked? It's not. It's a chemical that's laced in the cotton, so when it gets warm, it turns brown, and you think that it's being blocked. The tobacco industry calls new smokers replacement smokers. Replacement smokers. That's not going to happen here. Death from smoking marijuana is not one of the issues. Nobody has ever died from an overdose of marijuana. Have you ever seen a domestic violence call to a house where somebody smoked marijuana? You know where domestic violence comes from? Booze, wild turkey, tequila, Jack Daniels. That's when women have their brains beaten out from alcohol use. Show me one person that has ever died from marijuana. And just because you say it, it's not true. Remember this, we got AI now, we can Google this stuff.
Luke, do you want to respond?
Yeah, well,
I'm hopeful I'll win you over. You know, there's a lot of families, and the children I mentioned are real people. Those families are real people, and they're seeking representation from people like you. And you're somebody who's got something a lot of other lawyers haven't been able to do. You built an empire. And you could represent families and bring justice for people who have lost their loved ones as a result of the harms of marijuana. So that's real. So I hope we can get that real to you. One thing you mentioned was the cartels, and I'm glad you brought it up. The Sinaloa cartel, which is one of the two main cartels we're fighting against in this country, it's one of the biggest threats to our national security, they're lobbying for legalization of marijuana in Mexico. They went legit to lobby for it because it helps them. We have new cartels in Colorado, Chinese cartels, Mexican cartels, Nicaraguan cartels that we've never had in our state. And they're here, and they're using state legal marijuana as cover to sell marijuana as well as fentanyl. It's made it worse. 70% of California's market, they've had legalization since 2016. 70% of that market is black market. People are still going to the black market over the legal market. Why is that? It's because the legal market pays taxes, has to deal with regulations. The black market will never have to do that. And there are people who say, well, we don't have a black market for alcohol. We were able to get rid of that. Marijuana is much easier to grow illegally than alcohol is to produce illegally. We are seeing that in state after state after state. There are grow houses that are being made by cartels in suburban communities called Lakewood, Littleton. Mexican cartels have converted homes in suburban areas into grow houses. They're growing legal marijuana. And people are buying it from the black market still. So the lie that we could regulate marijuana and make it safer. First of all, the regulation's been a joke. Second of all, regulation doesn't equal safety, folks. Look at opioids. That's the most highly regulated market in the world. Look at tobacco. Very highly regulated. 500,000 Americans are dying every year from tobacco. This industry is still making giant dividends under legal sanction. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's safe. And the more prevalent and available it is, the more kids harms. And yes, John, I'm going to talk about kids because I'm fighting for my 7-year-old, 3-year-old daughters, and everyone in this next generation of America who should not be a dollar sign for this industry.
So one of the arguments that is being made about this amendment is that it gives immunity to cannabis companies. Do you both want to speak to some of the language in the bill, in the amendment, and some of the implications of that? John, I'm going to give you the first. We're going to do 90 seconds now, not 2 minutes.
It's very simple. It's just false. It's just false. It's just false. Look, immunity from what? For prosecution for selling it? Yeah. But immunity from doing something that's negligent or willfully and wantonly wrong? No. But that's what they're pushing out there. They're trying to tell everybody there's going to be, this immunity. That's not true. That is just not true. Look, this guy, very good. This is his job. They flew him in from Colorado, talking about freedoms and all that. Here's the freedom I talk about. I want to do it in my house, but I want to do it in my house. If I want to grow marijuana in my house, I want to grow marijuana in my house. I don't want to wear a helmet when I ride a motorcycle. I don't want to wear a helmet. Should, or a seatbelt. But look, I have children. My children were young in high school. I drug test them all the time. I understand what can happen to a young mind. I understand that. And when my kids failed it, they lost their keys. I'm not suggesting our children are going to be using it. No more than I have my children drinking vodka and lunch in high school. To try to confuse our children and to scare us about our children. Of course, I have 4 children. I have 6 grandchildren. Never in a million years would I do anything to put them in harm's way. But I'll tell you this, I'd much rather them later in life be taking a gummy than drinking wild turkey. And I know this, I don't know what it does to the brain. It seems like it's helped Elon Musk's brain a lot.
Do you want to respond, or I'm going to go back and actually get our audience questions? So we have 90 seconds.
Yeah, you brought up a great point about what he does in his own home. And you know what you do in your own home, we don't have a police state in this country. There's nobody that's in there to police you with what goes on in your own home. But we all have a responsibility, and it affects us all when he uses it in his own home. Not you don't do this, but when someone uses it in their own home and then gets behind the wheel of the car and goes driving down the highway. When someone is a bus driver and gets high and chooses to go to their job while impaired. We all have a problem when our surgeon who's there to perform our surgery has been using marijuana as well. And guess what? According to Quest Diagnostics, they're the #1 tester for drug tests in this country, millions every year. We've seen a 60% increase in people in the safety-sensitive workforce testing positive for marijuana while on the job. in states that have legalized recreational marijuana. So this isn't about what you can do in your own home. We can have laws to deal with that. Decriminalization. There are things we can do. We don't need to create Big Tobacco 2.0 in Florida so that we can have our rights in our own home. Those rights are already protected, and we can further enshrine them. But I have a problem when my daughter's getting the school bus and someone's using their rights to get high, which, by the way, we're creating a right in the Constitution of Florida with Amendment 3. You have a right to use marijuana under this constitutional amendment. We cannot allow that. That's where we have to draw the line at personal liberty.
Smoking on the school bus?
60% Quest Diagnostics, look up their report, more people, school bus drivers, pilots, airline pilots, all these folks are much more impaired by marijuana. That's the data, that's the facts. We got to deal with the facts.
John, you want to respond real quick?
We will get a question, so if you guys have any questions, please prepare for me. I'm only going to pick people who haven't spoken so far.
It's gonna be hard to figure out.
If he really believes what he's saying, I guess you're in favor of banning alcohol in Florida, America. I guess you're in favor of banning tobacco in America. 500,000 people die every year.
I don't think anybody would cry if we didn't have cigarettes.
But it's not going to happen. This is the lesser of all evils. Marijuana is the lesser of all evils. He said, I don't use it in my own home. I take a gummy every single night. Every single night. And guess what? I built the biggest personal injury firm in America, Stone.
How long have you been using? Have you been using marijuana every single night for your whole life?
I've been using a
Because you said it was only for
long time. And guess what? Didn't hurt me.
All right, guys, I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. I do want to get to our audience questions. They're antsy.
John, this isn't about you, and with all due respect, it's not about you. This is about the people, as we talked about. The people who do not have the wealth and the riches to go into treatment and pay for treatment if they develop marijuana addiction. The people who have to get up at 8 a.m. every day and go work a job where they're going to be drug tested. This is about those people. The messages that are being pushed to them is that this drug is harmless, it's not addictive, it should be a right to be able to use it, it doesn't impair you at all. And to our kids, it's that it's cool. I went to public high school, alcohol and tobacco were coming of age, and they were totally available in my high school. Marijuana now has assumed that status. This isn't the lesser of the evils. This is about adding on to our evils. We're not trading substances. We have alcohol and tobacco. We're talking about adding it. We don't need more.
I'm going to walk around because
The only thing I'll tell you about what you learn about the schools, you know what the big drug is? Adderall. Adderall is killing our children. Killing our children. You know what Adderall is? It's cocaine. It's synthetic cocaine. And people take it, and their parents go get it. So this study, you get an A on their test.
All right, guys, I do want to get to questions. I'm going to walk around. If you guys didn't notice, Brittany's very close to delivering her baby. So actually, I want to applaud her for being here like a week before she's due. So, does anybody have a question for me who has not expressed themselves already?
I'd like to actually.
You already expressed yourself.
How did I express myself?
Thank you both for being here. You guys have brought up a lot of points. You guys have a lot going on, so thank you for sitting down in front of us. I disagree and I agree with both of you guys on several things. As we've heard about, some of these concerns with immunity, closing the market, I do know that this is an amendment and not a bill. So that means that if it were to pass, it would be permanent, correct?
Yes.
And if there's something we don't like on there, like no home grow, like less licensing for smaller businesses, how would we get to adjust those and change those coming throughout the process? Or are we not able to?
Good question. Very good.
I think you spoke last. Let me get Luke. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, it's a constitutional amendment. So it's going to amend your state constitution. You're going to have to do another process just like this one. Come up with probably close to $100 million to get it on the ballot, and then get 60% of people to approve it.
That's right. It's permanent.
So it's basically permanent. And I don't think there's anybody who's going to come up with $100 million to give you to try to fix the amendment and do it in a way that doesn't profit the folks who are pushing this forward.
Alcohol and tobacco don't have an amendment.
Well, first of all, let me tell you why I don't know if it's 100 million, but let me tell you why. They changed the rules for constitutional amendments. You gotta have a higher vote tally. You gotta have ways to collect it. It is way more expensive just to get on the ballot, you know that. And they did it for a reason, because they don't want us deciding our future. Do you think that we would have medical marijuana in the state of Florida if we left it to the legislature? No. You thank me. Do you think we would have a minimum wage of $15 an hour if we left it to the legislature? No. People would still be making $8 an hour. You can thank me. Do you think that fellas would have a right to vote if we left it to the legislature? No. Because Tallahassee is for special interests, not the people. They're not for us. And that's why they try to stop these constitutional amendments. That's why they make it so difficult. To home grow, here's the deal. DeSantis wants to have home grow. I've seen him in a video saying it's monopolies. Guess what? He has the power. He can legalize it in the next session, and Paul Bunyan can have a big set of plants out back and do it.
I do. I already do.
Okay, don't say that.
Well, legally. I do legally. We're getting to the next question.
Thank you both for coming out today. I really appreciate the openness and brutal honesty from both of you to come out and share your views. It's definitely intimidating to be in front of a room that has a lot of opinions themselves, including myself. But one of the things I'm curious about, and truthfully I could go either way on this bill, on this amendment, but one of my concerns is what will happen once it's passed and what can come after. What other drugs are going to be potentially on the ballot the next couple years to say that they're legal? Where is the line drawn? Because right now we have a line. I don't necessarily agree with it, but we have a line. How much is that going to open up for mushrooms, LSD, other drugs that have been proven to help PTSD in other people? So they're not completely bad, but they're not completely good.
It's a great question. So yeah, in Colorado, so it was about 4 years after we legalized recreational marijuana, the same people that were involved with marijuana started then investing in psychedelics industry. And so before we know it, we had get ready for it, this is a novel term, medical psychedelics initiative, where we legalized 6 different kinds of psychedelics. I don't even know what all of them are or what all of them do. But all of a sudden, we have looked to the public and an average voter, myself included, to make medical decisions about what is medicine in this country. And I'm frankly very concerned about that. Because I didn't grow up voting on medicine, my parents didn't vote on medicine. Is the FDA perfect? No, it's not. However, there are at least scientists who study this for a living who are looking at medications and doing clinical trials to make sure that these medicines actually do what they say. How many of you know about Theranos? Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes. Okay, she was the founder who faked it till she made it with medicine. She had a test that she said was testing patients, and it wasn't. Their blood test, it was a complete scam. Now she's in prison for it. Fake it till you make it is how you live life as an entrepreneur trying to make it in this economy. But fake it till you make it in medicine is a disaster. It could hurt patients. And so I am concerned about this idea that we're going to have medicines go to ballot votes where, quite frankly, the medical organizations and the public health folks are not raising $50 million to compete on that ballot measure. It's the people who stand to make money who are doing it. So, yeah, there's no line. Once you start legalizing marijuana, you've built an apparatus that now we have put in place for psychedelics, that now is going to be put in place for other drugs. Oh, by the way, injection sites, safe supply of drugs where people can use heroin legally, courtesy of the taxpayer. All those things come down the road the moment we start legalizing drugs.
As psychedelics go, I can't really speak to it, but I will tell you I think it'd be a very heavy lift. It could happen. First of all, I don't think it ever happens legislatively. I can't think of anybody who would put it on the ballot. You still have to get 60% of the vote. But psychedelics are being used at NYU, at Lagone. They're using it for PTSD. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know about that. But let's talk about something we haven't talked about. The real tragedy. Think of all have been arrested and had their lives ruined for having one joint. Denied medical school, denied law school, denied going to the service, denied a promotion. Generations of people's lives have been ruined for smoking an herb put into earth by God for us, and it feels good. And guess what? It's just like aloe. I don't know why it works, but it works. But all of these people have had their lives upended and ruined. And guess what? They never get it back. Now you all say, well, you know, we can pass the. If you don't do it with the constitutional amendment, has it ever been done any other way?
They're making me. I got still like trying to.
Just real quick, so there's thankful to the op-ed a few weeks ago from the head of prisons in Florida. There's nobody that's in Florida for the possession of marijuana, that's in prison for the possession of marijuana in Florida right now. And there shouldn't be, and so I agree with you that in the past that was wrong. That wrong has been righted. In many ways it needs to continue to be righted. I fully agree with you. But just because that happened, we don't go to the other extreme and say, now let's give this industry free license to make profit off of our kids and relentlessly market their dangerous products. That's not the solution to that problem.
Listen, he knows this. First of all, the director of prisons, who's he work for, DeSantis. These guys are just goose-stepping whatever he tells them to do.
You feel the same way about our federal government, though?
What?
You feel the same way about our federal government doing what you're saying DeSantis is doing?
They're locking up people.
I'm just saying you're not being hypocritical towards Florida compared to.
No, I'm just saying he talked about the director of prisons. Going to prison is not the issue. Being arrested is the issue. Being arrested and having that on your record for the rest of your life. Applying for a university, you got an arrest. Trying to get into service and you've been arrested. That's the problem. And you know that. This doesn't get rid of that. Lives will still be ruined, and there's only one way to do it. Love you guys on 3.
All right, let me keep going.
I just have one question for each of you guys. So, John, could you give me one reason why I should vote no? And then, Luke, I want you to give me one reason why I should vote yes.
John, I'll let you start this one.
Wow. You know, I've never thought of a reason why no, but you stumped me. You stumped it. One reason, I want to be fair, because the only reason that I would vote no is if I worry about the implementation and the enactment of the amendment once we pass it. And guess what? We're gonna pass it. Just take that to the bank. We're gonna pass it. So what I would worry about, the only reason I vote no, is if the enactment by the Florida legislature and Ron DeSantis somehow took their eye off the ball and let the marijuana industry have as much pot as they can. One of the things DeSantis says is this has, too much pot in it. Well, guess what? The bill that he signed for me has more pot. It's got 4 ounces in it. So I don't worry about anything. Only thing I worry about is how do they enact it? How do they enact it after the fact?
Yeah, I think the only way I would consider voting yes would be if I knew we could cap the potency of marijuana at what it was just 2 decades ago. The average was 3% THC potency. It's 99% potent products now, so we could cap the potency, completely ban the advertising, not allow these giant corporations. And all those 3 things are, I don't think, possible, so that's why I'm a no, but if that was possible, I would consider it.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, hold on.
I'll give each of you a couple more seconds.
That is possible. They can cap the THC. They can cap the amount that they can sell. All of these things can happen because once we pass it, then it goes to the legislature for enactment. And all those things that you want can happen. So guess what, Luke? You're yes on 3.
Will you commit to a 5% THC potency cap? So then I'm a no on 3.
Move on to the next question.
Children a lot in this. According to, I believe it was the Colorado Kids Safety Study, from 2013 it was about 20% of youth users was about 20%. In 2020, I believe, that was down to 11%. So obviously that's gone down a lot for them in Colorado. So I was wondering if you could answer on that statistic, and also on the effect. You mentioned obviously you're very much for the criminal justice reform side. I got in this from a very special, I don't want to go into story time, but from a pro-life perspective, because I've seen how many families are ruined. I used to run Pro-Life Texas. I used to work in, and I worked in a rehab or in a halfway house, and I saw how many families were destroyed by not marijuana and drug use, but by the government. And the government terrifies me on these issues. 40,000 people were arrested. How do we respond to that?
Thank you, it's a great question. So the Colorado Healthy Kids Survey doesn't cover 40% of the state, so it's not representative of the entire state's youth because most of the school, a large portion of the schools don't participate. One thing that is important to know is that number of people who tried it last year or last month, that's what that survey is looking at. When you look at addiction rates, there was a study done by Magdalena Cerda, CERTA, 2019, looked at all the legal states, and they looked at youth, and they found a 25% increase in youth who were addicted to marijuana. So it's that what we're really concerned about is the heaviness of use, which is happening in states where they legalized it because of what the industry said. So I think it's a great question. And then to your second point about government and your fear of big government. If you are somebody who doesn't want to see a large government, the quote-unquote nanny state, you should absolutely vote no on marijuana legalization. Because what we are going to have is a system that, first of all, is heavily regulated. When we have social harms, more than half of this country's population are on some sort of taxpayer-subsidized healthcare services. We, the taxpayer, are going to go for a lot of healthcare services, a lot of the treatment and addiction issues, the ambulances and all the roads, the road deaths, all of that. Taxpayers subsidize all of that. So the government has to get a lot bigger to deal with the consequences. By the way, tobacco and alcohol, we lose more than $20 in social costs, federal government does, for every $1 in tax revenue from those two vice drugs. So we're losing money on those costs. Government gets bigger, taxpayer foots the bill.
Thank you.
One of the things I'd like to ask Luke, because he's been real upset about this corporation spending their own money to lose their business. Right now in Florida, the government is using government money to fight Amendment 4 with taxpayer money. And the rumor is that they're going to use taxpayer money to fight Amendment 3. Are you okay with that? Taxpayer money to fight this amendment, even though the polls show that the vast majority don't agree with that?
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I don't work for the government. I don't know anything about the details of what you're talking about. I need to see that. But what I will say is Governor DeSantis should be praised because it's very hard to find a governor who will stand up when you have industries and lobbyists in the door. And I'm telling you, he does. He's standing for your communities, for your kids, and for your future, for all young Floridians, so they can have a future. Governor DeSantis should be praised for his courageous work on this issue.
You didn't answer the question.
I don't have an answer. I don't know.
Okay, well, you're smart. And you're a professional. If only you found one guy in Colorado. I don't even know them. But here's the thing. The question is this. If Governor DeSantis is using taxpayer money to fight this amendment, if it's true, are you okay with that? It's just yes or no.
Like I said, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know the laws. I don't.
You know that. Also, you still haven't answered my question about whether or not you would take a lawsuit against the marijuana industry. So I'm going to answer to that question. It's hurting our kids. Kids are dying. They are being addicted. Parents parents need representation. You've got a strong law firm. I want to know if you'll represent these parents. We have a list of 1,000 of them with the details of their stories, their names, their kids, their ages, everything. They need representation.
Truly, if they sell
Let us
tainted
take care of our own
products.
kids.
Guys.
First of all, this is not about kids. 'Cause kids
It is about kids. My kids suffer at the hands of this industry in Colorado.
They're not
And
allowed to buy it.
I am their dad. I see what they go through when we walk down
How
the
old are
street.
your kids?
My kids are 7 and 3 years old. They are 7 and 3 years old. And you fought
Are
to
they
protect-
smoking?
You fought to protect
Are
your
they
kids.
smoking?
You guys, I gotta protect
Is the
them.
3-year-old smoking?
We don't. In America, we protect our kids. In America, we
Come
protect
on,
our
man.
kids.
All right, guys. Guys, I'm gonna settle everybody down. I'm gonna settle everybody down. John, you want
But
to?
the question is, if there was a cause of action where the marijuana industry had done something negligent or intentional that hurt our kids, yes, of course. Just like I sued tobacco, just like I sued the pharmaceutical industry, just like I sued BP when there was a spill off the coast, of course. But the point is, kids are not allowed to buy this marijuana. The only way people can get marijuana is if you're overage. Now, or go to his backyard. But listen.
It's federally legal.
Okay, but listen. That's not the problem. They talk about the kids. You know what they say about guns? Everybody thinks guns are going to kill our kids. You know what the argument against it is? Lock the guns up. Here's what I want to tell you in Colorado. When that little 3-year-old of yours wants to get up and do a doobie, just put it in with your guns. Lock it up.
All right, guys, I'm gonna keep moving. I have agreed to give you guys.
I'm just a troll online, guys. So, hi guys, my name is Shai Ortiz. I'm a hemp cultivator here in Florida. You know, John, the lesser of two evils is evil in its highest form of deception. Okay? So, and I know you're a smart man. All right, I don't doubt that by any means here. I don't think anybody here in this room doesn't think you make billions of dollars because you were a stupid man. I don't even think this gentleman does. However, some of the points that he's bringing up is very, very important. So, this past legislative session, I was up in Tallahassee, you know, speaking for myself to keep hemp legal in Florida, because we have a federally legal hemp cannabis market here, guys, in Florida. I don't know if you guys know that, but I run the #1 dispensary here in Tampa with Brandon Gomes. We are awarded the #1 dispensary in Tampa according to Tampa Bay Times because I'm a chronically ill patient of Florida who chooses to grow federally legal hemp and not poison my patients. So with that, John, here's my question for you. Okay, sir, because you say you're a man of the people. Are you willing to sue FDACS, who has deleted thousands of consumer health records from public for suffering from neurological damages, breathing, other debilitating issues from flour that has mold, amphibs, pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides? How can I trust the 22 monopolies are going to have my back when they have been here doing medical cannabis and do not have the 13 million patients back who are chronically ill in Florida? I grow hemp back into Amsterdam, and you're a hemp farmer. What you should be doing, sir, is supporting businesses like mine, where they are federally legal hemp cannabis businesses that have absolutely no arrest records, that have absolutely no problems with the state. You said you're invested, sir. Why aren't you invested fully in this? We already have a federally legal hemp market where no one can be arrested. I sell it, where children are helped on a daily basis, but we don't sell to 16-year-olds. And are you willing to step up and sue FDACS for these complaints?
Well, first of all, I'm willing to sue anybody.
Amen.
Don't worry about that. I sue the biggest people in the world. But if there's a cause of action and a harm, yes.
Excellent.
Let me tell you this, I support you.
I know
Like
you
I told you, I grew hemp in Oregon. So I support you. I'm a big advocate of hemp. I'm a big advocate of marijuana. I'm a big advocate of letting people do what they want with their own body at home. So this bill
is not it then.
This is a constitutional limit because this is the only way. Just
You
like,
already have federally legal cannabis. You just said it yourself.
no, we don't, not in Florida. This is for Florida.
But we have federally legal cannabis in Florida. I just told you our board the number one is.
But I'm okay with that. I support you.
So we don't need medical marijuana. What we need to do is free the last molecule.
You just want to block the medical
No, the
marijuana.
medical marijuana. 2 years ago, you guys put in a bill in place that capped how THC was done.
I didn't.
No, you didn't, but your friends did.
Who's my friend?
Your friends. I'll find them for you. But you may not like them that much anymore.
I don't know them.
They are your friends.
I don't know them.
Why won't you support the federally legal cannabis market that's here? Why don't you free the last molecule?
I'm in favor of, listen, I agree with Donald Trump. I would legalize all of it all across America today.
Are you ready to sue FXM for deleting thousands of consumer
Yes,
records?
if there's a cause of action and a real harm, let me give you my card on the way out.
I'll take it right now, sir, because that is the next move for you.
You want to move on? Okay.
Thank you, Jake. Sorry about that, sir.
No problem.
This question is mainly for John. Do you think it is reasonable to strictly require passing a drug test before getting government assistance so that my paycheck does not indirectly pay people to use marijuana, as I feel like a lot of people on government assistance do?
Do I believe that? No, I don't believe that because they have children at home that they got to take care of. So no, I would be against that.
Do you want to take this one? Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
My name is Hunter. I'm Republican. Republicans. I got a question mainly kind of deals with the ATF and weed since it is a Schedule I narcotic. What do you guys say to people who do end up having a medical card, or if this does become recreational, what do you say to their ability to own a firearm? Because if it is considered federally as a narcotic, let's say pretend Trump doesn't win, you know he's gonna win, come on. But let's say he doesn't win, Kamala comes into the office and doesn't make it a federally legal thing. We have the issue of it being a Schedule I narcotic still, and we all like our guns, we all like having our Second Amendment. This is something that could affect it. What do you guys say to that?
I'll let you go through the answers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. This is an issue because it's federally illegal, and so you're not allowed to own a firearm when you're doing something that's federally illegal. And I'm still, like I mentioned, Republican Party used to be conservative, it also used to be the party of law and order. I hope it still is. So I'm a law and order guy. If you're breaking federal law, that's what the law says. If you guys want to change it, go for it. But the law says it is federally illegal. We need to enforce federal law. If Congress wants to change it, then they can work on that. Right now it's illegal. You can't own a weapon if you're using a mind-altering substance. Especially, by the way, we have so many people who have done mass shootings across this country that then it turns out they were using marijuana heavily. I don't know if it caused it, but we can't deny the fact that it is a present substance in our shootings. If you don't believe me, look out. Do your research.
No, what's true is true.
Like I said, just because he says it, it's not true.
Look it up. It's a psychosis.
Look, this issue is like the issues before it. And here's what's going to happen. Once upon a time, when you fought against it, there was no gay marriage. But then a couple of states started having it. And before you know it, you could go to everywhere. You could get married everywhere. It became federal. This has taken some time because you got to knock these barriers down. Today, we look at gay marriage and go, well, why did we do that? Why did we do that? That's how we're going to look at this one day. We're going to say, why did we stop the hemp? Why did we stop the heroin? So it's going to be slowly but surely. And one day, it's going to be like an avalanche. He's going to be able to grow his stuff in his backyard. It's going to be legal across America. You're going to go into banks, get it, be able to bank. And listen, when it happens, it's going to be one of the biggest economic stimulators in this country. Real estate, jobs, banking, at a time where AI is taking jobs. This is a job creator. This is a tax builder.
Whether or not somebody is in a gay marriage does not impair their ability to drive when they go and drive the school bus. Okay? So when somebody has an example, a horrible example, when somebody uses drugs, that impacts us in all the ways we've talked about. When they go out on the road, when they go to work on the factory line next to somebody who didn't make that choice, when they're a parent of young kids and they're getting impaired, that impacts other people. Legal recognition of marriage has nothing to do with it. It's a horrible example.
No, you don't have to.
One other thing I want to mention is you talked about racism. I do want to hit on that for a second. So we know that there has been racial disproportionality in our criminal justice system. But what I will tell you is two wrongs don't make a right. To fix that problem, we don't create an industry that is also acting racistly. There's less than 4% black ownership of the marijuana industry nationally. Where are all the pot shops, folks? In the black and brown communities. So white folks are owning these businesses, making money off of these communities of color, and these profits are not going back to the communities. Two wrongs don't make a right.
I actually want to piggyback and ask a question to you guys. There is a lot of conversation about I want to ask a question about the money that's come into some of these states. So if you're from Colorado, there's been estimates, money's gone different places. There's estimates here about Florida, about how much money we could bring in. What do you think about the revenue and the capitalism that could come from this? And I'm going to get back on to just talked. I'll come back to you.
Well, first of all, he's talking about gay marriage. What I'm saying about gay marriage is it has nothing to do with gays using marijuana. I hope you don't think that's what I was saying. What I'm saying is you start knocking walls down state by state, region by region, and before you know it, all the walls are knocked down. That's all I'm saying. But the economic effect, look, these places are not putting all this money in to lose money. They're putting money in to make money. It's going to be a gigantic business, but there's not going to be as many as you think. You know why? Ask yourself this question when you drive home tonight. If you needed to go get a prescription, name 5 places you can go get it. In all of Florida. CVS, Walgreens, Publix, what else? Costco. It's very few. We got more places to buy medical marijuana than to buy pills.
Do you want to respond?
Yeah, so tax revenue. Everyone comes into the state, they give you the sky-high promises, and I was raised, if something sounds too good to be true, probably is. So in Colorado, we were promised a windfall of billions of dollars. Our tax revenues from marijuana make up 0.73% of our state's budgeted revenues, and we make most. So it is pennies on the dollar. If you don't believe me, ask our Democratic U.S. Senator, John Hickenlooper. He will tell you the money we have made from marijuana in terms of tax revenue is a drop in the bucket. And compared to the social costs, as I was talking about, we're losing $10 to $15, maybe $20 for every $1 in tobacco and alcohol tax revenue. Some estimates say we're losing $4.50 for every dollar in Colorado of marijuana tax revenue. So we're not making money off of this, but I will tell you who is making money. A very small group of already very wealthy investors from the East Coast and from Silicon Valley. They are already rich folks. They're going to make a lot of money, and then the taxpayer will be putting with a bill of passing huge mental health system overhauls and huge Affordable Care Act 2.0. We will be funding health care for centuries on a taxpayer dime, so a few people can make billions of dollars off of this addiction industry.
That's right.
Okay, guys, we have only 5 minutes left, so we're only going to take a couple more questions.
They've been going for 90 minutes, by the way. So I hope you guys are enjoying it.
It's not a monologue. Thank you so much. My name is Martha Glenn. I came all the way from Miami to ask this one question. Earlier you said that there was nothing in this bill that would stop medical marijuana companies from not having that liability. I'd like to know how I am supposed to interpret this from the bill, and I'm quoting from section 5, and it says, a medical marijuana treatment center or other state licensed entity, including its agents and employees, acting in accordance with this section as it relates to acquiring, cultivating, processing, manufacturing, selling, and distributing marijuana products and marijuana accessories to adults for personal use, shall not be subject to criminal or civil liability or sanctions under Florida law.
That's what it says.
Civil.
What it means is they can't be prosecuted for selling it. It has nothing to do with negligence or intentional acts. And by the way, that is one of the great red herrings that they're going to have immunity. Do you think for 1 minute that John Morgan, for the people, would stand up here and give civil immunity to anybody? Hell, I can't say hell. Hell effing no.
It's in the amendment. It's right there in black and white.
It's not, but that's well, it's in black and white, and it says civil in the terminology. And what I'm saying is, this is standard par for the course behavior from an industry that is learning from its big brother, big tobacco. And this isn't just happening in Florida. At the federal level, there was a leaked pitch deck. The marijuana industry is going to federal regulators, and they're saying, we want regulations just like tobacco. We want to be shielded from liability. We want to be what they call, get ready for it, big weed oligopoly. That means monopoly, folks, a small group of people controlling all the dough. So this is a federal movement. This is this industry's identity. We should believe them for who they are. Believe them for what they say they are. It's in their name. It's in how they act. We cannot give them a free pass. If they're free from civil liability, they will sell moldy, disgusting products that they say are healthy, that they say will help people and help kids. And target people.
They're already doing it.
Can't allow it.
This is probably going to be our last question. I know we get somebody enthusiastic back here, so we're going to you.
In the black community on 34th and Lake, Robles Park, it's the best weed. So True Leaf ain't there, Avis Canopy Growth ain't there. None of the industries are there. My question is for you, John. On the federal level, how can we get marijuana off the Title I drug to cocaine to a level 3 drug? To implement all those things you said from 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it can be, anybody can have it.
Listen.
Okay.
Listen, man, you're telling Noah about the flood because I agree with you. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. But why is it there? Because you gotta always remember that movie, Follow the Money. Follow the money. Even this sweet lady here, she's got a financial interest too. She's got a big interest in no marijuana. A big interest. It has nothing to do with the merits. It has to do with her money. Follow the money. But what I'm saying to you is this. And this is what I'm talking about. It's going to have to be knocked down drip by drip by drip. Joe Biden was at my house. I spent a lot of time talking. Well, now, let me say in full disclosure, before he became president, I had switched parties to independent, NPA. I decided a long time ago that more of us agree on most things than when you put a DNR next to it. So I'm in no party affiliation. I don't believe in D's, I don't believe in ours, I believe in us. But here's the deal. It's going to happen, but it's going to happen slowly. But the reason it's not happening, tobacco and alcohol and pharmaceuticals have a big, big interest in stopping us. Pablo Escobar has a big, big interest in stopping us. Guys like Pablo Escobar. Let's go get this. He's dead. When did he die?
In the 80s.
Are you sure?
90s.
Are you sure?
Yes. 90s.
Look, I'm talking about it illusory. I mean, whoever. I mean, you know. But the point is this. The point is this. It's all about money, and it's all about campaign contributions to take these politicians to their next level, to their next run. It's not about us. And the reason, you know, but I'm not going to. But the reason we've had to do with the constitutional amendment, because it won't be done. He wants to have homegrown. DeSantis can do it in the next session.
We can do it now.
To limit THC. He can do it. in the next session.
I gotta go. We're gonna do one more question too, and I'll let Luke respond real quick. We already got a question.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. So John, tobacco, alcohol, they're all lobbying to legalize marijuana. We got billions of dollars in marijuana, and the cartels are also wanting legalization because they're using it as a cover for their activities. Why do we think we're having this crisis at our border and crisis of illicit drugs in our country? Maybe because we legalize drug dealing. Maybe because marijuana is the gateway policy bringing cartels into our neighborhood. That is exactly what happened in Colorado. I'm sorry for folks who don't want to hear it. I'm sorry. But the facts are the facts. The cartels have used hot shops. We have literally people involved in some of the worst cartel syndicates in the world. Chinese cartels who are coming in, they're bringing in fentanyl, and they're using state legal marijuana storefronts to launder their fentanyl money in. If you don't believe me, they testified before Congress 2 months ago. Listen to the testimony. It'll terrify you. The final thing, just real quick on scheduling. Scheduling is a very convoluted monster. I'm not going to get into it, but what's being discussed right now with Schedule 3, moving marijuana to Schedule 3 is not going to legalize it. It's not going to make it available. It's going to give the industry a giant tax break. They will write off all of their advertising. They will write off all of the things they're doing to target vulnerable communities. They win. We don't win off that.
Just one question for Luke. If we go back later in research, and we find that Philip Morris has not put $2 billion, no, if we don't,
I'll give you the link where they do.
if we don't, will you admit everything else you said was a lie? Will you? No, I don't want the link. I don't just, if we find out.
Philip Morris,
If
under
we-
the name of Altria, which is their new
Altria,
name,
yeah.
has put $2 billion into Kronos, one of the largest pot companies in the world.
And if we find out that's not
They have set up C-pairs.
let me ask you a question.
If we find out that you lied, will you admit that everything else you said was a lie?
Yes. Yes. Hell yes. But the question is, if you're not going to answer it,
I said I've got your answer. I'm answering it.
so if it's not true, everything else you
It's
said was a
100%
lie.
true.
I said if it's not.
So if you lied once and everything else you said may also not be
All right, guys, please be quiet. Everybody be quiet. I have one question.
Hello, my name is Dr. Doug Kindred. I'm a scientist who came here from Ocala today. I'm an expert in cannabis-induced psychosis. Nobody seems to believe that cannabis can cause people to be psychotic, even though it's a psychoactive substance.
Take CBD.
Now, the CDC just issued a report that there were over 540,000 cases of kids between the ages of 10 and 25 hospitalized for cannabis-induced psychosis over the last 3 years. There were 13,000 senior citizens hospitalized for cannabis-induced psychosis in California alone. And in San Diego, I will get to the question, in San Diego there were over 37,000 cases at one hospital. Now, my question is, how are we going to deal with the epidemic of cannabis-induced psychosis, because these people are in extreme danger, believing that their family members are demons, devils, and witches, and they try to kill them. There's there's thousands of cases of suicide from cannabis-induced psychosis, and I can give you all the references. I've read hundreds of articles about this, not articles, in the academic literature.
Take CBD.
In the academic literature. I can show you. I'll show you plenty of it. Okay, my question is how to react. I want you guys to react to that.
Yes. Great question.
Guys, I'm going to give it to Luke first, and then we're going to come to John.
Treated the same way as
Thank you,
alcohol.
Doctor. And what he said is 100% true. This is how the marijuana industry has totally hoodwinked the public. We all think that marijuana is no big deal. We're thinking of the marijuana from a few decades ago. That marijuana may have been no big deal. And you know what? Part of the reason why is because we didn't allow an industry with the innovation of the American free market to make it into what it is today. There's an industry. They have changed this drug. It is not the drug that we all knew from a long time ago. And these products are much more dangerous to your mental health. What he's saying is backed up by the National Institute of Health, National Institute of Drug Abuse, in every major medical review, the Lancet Journal of Psychiatry. Your chances, 2019, look me up. Lancet Journal of Psychiatry, 2019. Regular users of today's high-potency marijuana are 5 times more likely to develop schizophrenia or psychosis. That's just the solid facts. I understand the public doesn't believe it. It's not what we see from Lil Wayne in movies. But you know what? Those aren't the folks that advise us on drug policy. It should be people who actually know what they're talking about. Like, I don't know, maybe the doctor back there who spent his life writing about this.
Hold on. Do you even know what kind of doctor he is? You don't care. What kind of doctor is he?
I don't know who he is. But what he's saying is 100% accurate.
Guys, quiet, please.
I'm a medical cannabis doctor.
Yeah, we need to.
Why do we see this with the 850,000 people that have been in the program for 8 years? Chicken Little, the sky hasn't fallen.
Guys. I gotta end this. We're at 90 plus minutes.
Listen, have you noticed that it's always about our kids? It's always about our kids. Those pesky kids, those 3-year-olds of his smoking in his crib in Boulder, Colorado. Listen, you can talk about kids all you want, but the way you protect kids, if you really care about kids, you regulate it, you tax it, you govern it, and you take it out of the cartel's hands. Let me ask you this question, doctor. Would you rather have regulated marijuana sold or unregulated marijuana sold? And there's one answer, either or. No, that's not the answer, because here's the problem, sir. Marijuana is still going to be sold. He's already told us there's black market all over Colorado. It's still going to be sold. So if you care about your kids, regulate and control, and you want to control THC.
John, I'm gonna give you guys 2 minutes each to do final. 2 minutes each.
2 minutes. Your final remarks for 2 minutes.
You want to?
No. You go for
Guys, now you guys don't want the mic.
I'll take it.
I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes. No more questions. We're like almost, an hour 45. I really appreciate these guys coming out. You guys have been somewhat well behaved, not quite. But I want to give them each 2 minutes to make their final case, closing statements. If we were in a courthouse, it would be a very well-behaved courthouse. But I want to give John his first 2 minutes.
It's a kangaroo court.
Yeah, we have those too.
Well, look, this is a very accomplished, polished. It's the best hair I've ever seen in America. And but I wonder, just the research.
Guys. Please.
I guess this is your full-time job. This is what you do for a living. So think about who we've heard from tonight. Are you a lawyer too?
I'm not
An ambulance
Somebody
chaser.
said, ambulance chaser?
That's right.
Let me tell you something about ambulance chaser, ma'am. I got bear scanners in my cars. I get there way before the ambulance gets there. Don't ever shortchange me. In technology, I got fuzz busters, I got everything. Don't ever think I'm chasing ambulances. I'm there first. I'm insulting you.
You insulted him.
But look. He's very good, and he spat out so many things that you don't know what's up, what's down. All I know is this. His main arguments have been against tobacco, which I fight, and the pharmaceutical industry, which I fight. This is going to pass, and when it passes, the Florida legislature will come in and regulate everything. And if the Florida legislature wants to have homegrown, they can. The reason we're here is because Tallahassee is broken. It doesn't work for the people. It works for a very few wealthy corporations in America. Not for you. TrueLeaf is a legal company in Florida. Are you upset at CVS? Are you upset at Walgreens? I don't know. I always thought Republicans were free enterprise and let the best win. If True Lead has done the best job, if they're the Walgreens of marijuana, God bless them. And somebody's got to get better. You just got to get better. That's what America is. That's what America is. I'm never going to say True Lead's bad. I admire them. Just like I admire Elon Musk, just like I admire CBS, because they built a business.
All right, we have 2 minutes, and then we're going to close this up.
John, I want to thank you for your compliments. Also, you've been taking on a lot of different people in this room in addition to me. So can we just give a round of applause for him handling this stuff? I have a lot of respect for some of the things you've done in your career, and I gave a lot more respect for what you just had to handle tonight. So thank you for doing this. It's been fun. That being said, I just think we should listen to some of the things that John has said tonight. So John has been kind of making light of the fact that I'm bringing up our kids. But our kids, in my opinion, are this nation's most important resource. We're thinking about the next generation. So I don't think it's something to make fun of. But he's been kind of making fun of that tonight. The other thing is he talks about being for the people. This is about making the legislature work for the people. But he thinks that you don't smell cigarette and marijuana smoke out on the street, so I don't know if he can relate to the people. Because I'm a member of the people, and I think we've all realized we're all part of the people, and we smell it when we walk around. So we're all influenced by the actions of these industries. We feel it, we know it. And the idea that we are going to let the best company win, that's what I'm so afraid of. When it comes to marijuana and when it comes to addictive drugs, when we put the keys in the hands of big corporate conglomerates, they're the ones who win. Look at Purdue Pharma. They just had the whole settlement thrown out. I don't even know if they're going to be liable for the murders they committed across this country. Purdue Pharma may be getting off. The tobacco industry got off cheap. They had to pay billions, but the tobacco industry still exists today. Now they have nicotine pouches. Now they have vaping. These industries have succeeded and won because they pay off politicians. They pay them off over our families, over our concerns about public health and public safety. So if you want to put our next generation first, if you are concerned about having a safer community, I want you to think about the families impacted across this country. Johnny Stack, Randy Backus, Jennifer Robichuk, so many other names I can't list tonight. Families who have paid the price so True Lead and others can make a lot of money. Let's not bring that to Florida. It's a no on 3. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Guys, I want to thank you. Just again, so you know, we've got over 5,000 people watching this live right now. So thank you. Look at that, a handshake. Again, I want to thank Sean Morgan. I want to thank Luke with Sam. If you guys want to learn more, they're going to be here the rest of the evening, or at least for a little bit longer. If you're watching live, you should join TVYR. You should be out here. We have some fun events. We have some good events. So thank you guys. Oh, we also have a $1,000 minimum, so make sure you guys spend a lot of money at the bar. Please go buy drinks. Please tip your waiters and waitresses, bartenders tonight. Spend some money.
Well, that's the issue. Legalizing medical marijuana is already passed in the state of Florida. It's already a law. So tonight was a debate for, are you going to be for recreational marijuana or against recreational marijuana? As the state of Florida goes to the polls, this is a pretty good debate. You hear the pros and cons. Where do you come out on? Put in the little section in the comments below. Let us know. Are you for it or are you against it? We're against it. So, well, medical marijuana is already the law, the rule of the law of the state of Florida. So now it's up to you to go vote. Do you want recreational marijuana? So it was a good debate. Now you have to decide.
And that's it.